Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. You know I'm getting ready to go jogging, but I said let me take a little time out to make a couple videos. Now, although you guys are following this channel for boxing, look, man, let's be real. KSI and Jake Paul, it's not fair to refer to them as anything other than boxers. These guys are training, they're putting in the work, and to be honest with you, look at where they were when they first debuted as a boxer to where they are now. They have made a lot of progress, and I'm pretty impressed with what they've been able to do in training and their performances in the ring, their composure. And I'm telling you something right now. Jake Paul and KSI, if they fight, is going to be the battle of the right hands. Because we know Jake Paul has a big right hand. You just don't hit somebody and knock him out. It just doesn't like haphazardly happen. Like, you got to have some power there. And for KSI, the same thing. Obviously, there's some power in his right hand as well. Now, I'm not talking about when he fought Fournier and he hit him with the forearm, elbow, whatever. He hurt him with right hands. And I think he was going to knock him out anyway. It's just unfortunate that they hit him with the elbow. But this is the thing when it comes to Jake Paul and KSI. Now, for those of you who are out there and saying, why in the world are we talking about a Jake Paul and KSI? Because and saying, why are people even following these guys? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because of the amount of money that a KSI and Jake Paul fight would generate. You look at what Jake Paul, the kind of money he's made in a year from boxing. So when we look at a guy like Jake Paul and the money that he's able to make, and then you look at him doing this, over there working with Showtime, right? They have a very long-term agreement with Jake Paul. And then you see that, damn, they're complaining about money when it comes to an Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford fight. Even for guys like Deontay Wilder, even to get Keith Thurman in the ring, or any of those big-name guys over there on PBC or working with Showtime. It's always a budget. Calendar year funding, fiscal year funding, different pots of money that where supposedly the money's not there. But Jake Paul comes along and the money's there. Makes you wonder, right? But at the same time, to be fair to all parties involved, got to take into consideration Jake Paul's platform and the amount of followers this man has. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this whole social media thing and this younger generation, and even the older, but really the younger generation, Jake Paul and KSI, when it comes to that younger generation and them supporting a pay-per-view event, Earl Spence and Crawford can't get anywhere close to what Mayweather and McGregor did. They're over $2 million, right? Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua can't come anything close to Mayweather and McGregor. And I'm saying Mayweather and McGregor because we're talking about the 2 million plus pay-per-view buys. We're not talking about Mayweather Pacquiao. That's like 4 million pay-per-view buys. Something ridiculous, right? Crazy. We're just kind of shooting for the sweet spot. But let me tell you who can probably get somewhere close to that 2 million plus pay-per-view buys would be Jake Paul and KSI. And I'm being honest with you. Anyone out there think differently, say what you want. But these little prime drinkers out here, they will spend their money on a KSI Jake Paul fight just like they spend their money on those goddamn primes. By the way, those primes taste pretty damn good. And I'm telling you, I buy a lot of them. I got like 50 cases in there because I have 4 sons. And they all, into sports and they know who these guys are, but they like prime. That's the popular thing. And I drink them too. Them shits taste good. But the bottom line is Jake Paul's taking issue with KSI, man. And he's decided to poke fun at KSI, especially after the Fournier fight. And I'm going to tell you this, right? Wherever Jake Paul's, wherever he's involved, there's going to be some kind of controversy and drama. But the bottom line is KSI and Jake Paul have become known for knocking out opponents and having, punching power. Now, I'm going to tell you this right here. As far as Jake Paul and KSI, they work very hard. But who can get that shot off first? When you look at their styles, Jake Paul is kind of looking to throw a looping overhand right landed. But KSI has adopted this style like that guy. I don't know what his name is. Venom something maybe. He's tall, skinny. He jumps up and down, switches. He's an MMA fighter. Then he explodes, right? KSI has adopted that style of fighting kind of, It's really unfortunate. He just gets in there and starts jumping up and down, and then he lets his hands go. You can't train for that. And then he just explodes. But the problem is when he explodes, he kind of lunges in. But against Jake Paul, KSI won't have a problem getting his shots off. I personally think Jake Paul is going to struggle in a fight with KSI. But if KSI keeps jumping in recklessly, it'd just be a matter of time if Jake Paul, working with Shane Mosley now, right? Because Jake Paul kind of let go some of the guys from his other team. And he put Shane Mosley back on his team, right? And I think Shane Mosley can help him to really land that overhand right. And if he lands that overhand right on KSI, KSI is going to be out and could be out cold. But the thing is, in order for Jake Paul to do that, he has to wait for KSI to either attack or for KSI to make a mistake. But KSI is proven to be extremely athletic and extremely explosive. So he may not get that opportunity if he waits around too long and he keeps letting this guy KSI initiate the action. Also, I'm going to tell you, that forearm that KSI threw, he trained to throw that forearm. I'm not saying he trained to do it in the fight, but I'm saying he's trained to throw the forearm. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. He really has trained to throw that forearm. So him fighting Jake Paul, I would not be surprised if all of a sudden there's another kind of accident or something like that happens against Jake Paul. But they've both been working very hard, man, and their camps have been intense and grueling. But I just really feel this fight here is going to do great. Because when you look at the business relationship that Jake Paul has with Showtime, the business relationship KSI has with the Zone, and also you look at what Jake Paul's brother Logan Paul has going on in WWE, and also the fact that his brother has the business relationship with KSI. Let me tell you something. There's going to be not only an interest in Jake Paul and KSI fighting each other, there's going to be an interest in these networks putting these guys against each other as well. It's going to make for a huge showdown and huge money. And we all know where there's money, there's interest when it comes to these guys, these key decision makers behind the scene, and the secret society. So let's forget about the KSI that Jake Paul lost to Tommy Fury. That's neither here nor there, because me personally, give y'all a few facts on that. Tommy Fury is Tyson Fury's brother. Tommy Fury was working with Usman Sajjad. If you look at Tommy Fury's performance in that fight, that man never got tired. He looked super sharp. He looked good in that fight. So he put the work in, but that stamina and that conditioning, never seen him look like that. So I personally think Tommy Fury had a little bit of an advantage in that fight with Jake Paul. There's no way in the world Jake Paul could have matched him. Endurance for endurance, conditioning for conditioning, stamina for stamina, because Jake Paul doesn't have an Usman Sajjad working with him. And I'm just being honest with you. But nonetheless, it's going to be interesting when these guys get in the ring and when they brawl. But if KSI decides to pick up and work with Usman Sajjad or some of these other strength and conditioning coaches. Jake Paul may have to figure something out because there's no way in the world he's going to be able to go in the ring and beat a guy who is taking the fruit cocktails. And some of those fruit cocktails, let me tell you something, some of them are legal. These guys know supplements, they know drugs. They know what can have the same benefits for conditioning, for power, for stamina, for punch resistance as the illegal substances. So these guys can do it all and be legal and not have to worry about VADA, WADA, UCAD, nothing. Okay? And I think that's the point that where a Conti is getting to, a Heredia is getting to. I don't know what the hell Ariza is doing, but Usman Sajjad as well. So I expect to see more, to find out about more and more fighters using these guys. But to me, that's going to be the difference with Jake Paul and KSI is a conditioning piece. They both can crack. They both have these weird styles. But we're going to find out. But it's really the battle of the right hand. So people not giving those guys credit, I don't think that's fair. They deserve some credit. I think they do. I think they both deserve credit for putting the work in. You know, let me tell you something. Training's not easy. Getting up and running's not easy. Sparring, sure, hell ain't easy, especially those guys when they're sparring ex-champions or guys who are more than qualified and they get in the ring and get their asses torn out the frame. Like, that's not easy to want to wake up and come back in the ring and do that again. I'm telling you from experience being on both sides. But that being said, man, I'm rooting for these guys. I like watching them fight, man. It's entertaining to me. But if you ask me who's more athletic, I think KSI. Who's more durable, I think Jake Paul. Who hits harder? Right now, it looks like they both hit hard. Who's going to win the fight? I think it boils down to who's taking the fruit cocktail. And we're going to find out, because when these guys have this kind of stuff at stake, people tend to get desperate. And I'm not saying they're going to do anything illegal. But what I'm telling you is somebody's going to come across a fruit cocktail. And they're going to look to get an advantage. And that's the person I think who wins. That being said, y'all keep cool. Leave your comments below. Let me know who you think maybe chasing after that fruit cocktail to give themselves an advantage. All I'm telling you is don't be surprised if they fight and when they fight, if someone gets savagely knocked out. And I'm going to be looking forward to it. And don't be surprised if they do over $2 million in PPV buys. I think they can do it. And I'm rooting for them. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, also the continents, in the breeze.